The information in this statement is based on an actual event that took place at Nationwide Children's Hospital, 700 Children's Drive, Columbus, Ohio, 43205. On April 16th of 2019, my daughter was transferred to Columbus Nationwide Children's Hospital, 700 Children's Drive, Columbus, Ohio, by an ambulance from another hospital in the afternoon. She entered the hospital through the emergency department. The hospital got us into a room, and everything seemed fine at the time. Later, the emergency room doctor said that they were going to hospitalize my daughter in an ICU for at least an overnight stay because of her asthma and she was having trouble breathing. A registration staff member entered the room and collected the personal information of my daughter, my wife, and myself. With the information obtained, she promptly printed wristbands and badges for only my wife and my daughter, allowing us access to our designated room. The lady from registration checking us in told me, the father, that I had an issue and that I would need to go down to the front desk for further assistance. An issue? What the heck? That's strange, is what I was thinking. Why would I have an issue? I thought nothing of the question at the time. I was confused by this sudden request, and I initially brushed it off, failing to anticipate any further issues. The personnel from upstairs arrived to prepare us for the transfer to the ICU unit and escorted us to the 7th floor. As we started settling into our new room, I couldn't help but notice the gathering of all the doctors and nurses and residents outside, engaging in a discussion about the father and casting glances towards the room door. It struck me as odd at the time, but I couldn't grasp the full extent of what was happening. Throughout the entire afternoon and evening, about every 3 to 5 minutes, doctors and nurses from various departments in the hospital seemed like they were coming and standing around the door and looking in our room, observing the father's every move. The behaviors from staff, including doctors and nurses from Children's Hospital, was incredibly unusual, and it created a rather unwelcoming atmosphere for the family. I decided to make a quick trip back to the house to fetch some essentials for my wife and my daughter. However, upon attempting to leave the 7th floor through the double doors in the hallway, I had discovered that the hospital had locked me in on that floor. I had to seek assistance from a staff member on the floor to be able to exit the area. Unfortunately, upon leaving, I realized that I had forgotten my belongings in my daughter's room and attempted to return, only to be denied access from the hospital staff, preventing me from seeing my daughter or retrieving the necessary items I needed to make my way back home to get them some more items. I was forced to go down to the main lobby, and as I was leaving, I got on the elevator. Once I rode the elevator down to the 1st floor, a security guard on the ground floor stopped me and requested my identification badge. I informed him that I didn't have one since the registration department denied issuing me a badge. I informed the security guard that I was coming down to the front desk to resolve the issue and try to obtain a badge at the main lobby once I got down here. The security guard informed me that I needed to have a badge to be able to walk around in the hallways at the hospital. Although I acknowledged this requirement, I explained to him that I had not been issued a badge by the registration department upon our arrival through the emergency department. So I made my way over to the front desk, and in the front lobby I waited my turn to ask someone for help. A lady kindly called me up to the podium and asked me what I needed help with today. I told her my daughter was admitted into the ICU here, and I'm her biological father, and I was told that I have an issue, and they could not issue me a badge until I come down here to the front desk for help. I went on to tell the lady from the Nationwide Children's Hospital staff that their employees and their staff has embarrassed me and inconvenienced me in these hard times in my life that we were facing when my daughter is in the intensive care unit. The lady went on and asked me for a state-issued ID or a driver's license, so I got it out of my wallet and handed it over to her. A few minutes later, the lady said, "Sir, we are unable to get you a badge at the moment." So then I went on and asked her why, and she told me because you are a registered sex offender. Not to mention, this was in front of a line of guests, at least 30 people waiting to get checked in at the front desk at the hospital. Other guests were looking at me like there was something wrong with me because I am a supposed sex offender in a children's hospital. This was a total embarrassment. Many guests were watching because whatever they were doing with me was holding everyone behind me up from getting service or being able to sign in. And more than one guest heard them discussing their false accusations at the front counter of Nationwide Children's Hospital at the main lobby desk. I replied back to the lady, "Wow, that's crazy news to find out." I said, "I have a completely clean background and I have never committed a crime in my entire life. I've never even received a speeding ticket in my life." Nationwide Children's Hospital pays millions of dollars for their faulty systems and horrible judgmental staff, and not just one staff member, multiple staff members talk badly upon me and my name and accuse me of some serious crimes here today at this hospital. The lady working at the desk said that she would have to call someone and for me to hold on for a few minutes. A few minutes went by and a female and a male security guard came over to the front lobby desk and looked at my ID and assessed the situation and tell me at the counter again, "You are a registered sex offender." Many more guests were hearing what was going on at this desk. Not to mention, the children's hospital staff had to make a huge scene out in the open front lobby and could not even have the decency to pull me off into a closed room out of the public eye to discuss these false accusations. I replied that they must have the wrong person. The female security guard looked me dead in the eyes and said, "Clearly, you are a child molester." I argued with the female security guard for a minute and told her and the male security guard what they were doing was wrong and it is illegal and they had the wrong person. I am a white male, and the female security guard tried to convince me that I was a black male and that I fit the description as a black male. I had to wonder to myself, how incompetent are these staff members at Children's Hospital here in Columbus, Ohio? This is a hospital with doctors, nurses, and a bunch of educated people, you would think. I'm not sure by the actions and the behavior of the Children's Hospital staff, though. I'm 100% positive that the people working at the front desk and the security guards could see the picture of the convicted sex offender on their computer screens. Then the female security guard pulled out her personal cell phone and took a picture of my driver's license and told me she would be back with it. I don't really think that this was a company issued cell phone either, and I don't know why this random Nationwide Children's Hospital employee needed a photo of my driver's license on her personal cell phone. My identity is now at risk for the lack of training put on by Nationwide Children's Hospital. About 15 minutes later, the female security guard returned to inform me that I did not meet the description of the person that they had on their computer screen. But the female security guard never deleted the photo of my driver's license on her personal cell phone, and the Children's Hospital staff told me the following day that she did not have to by law. And after she told me that this wasn't me and gave me my ID back, I told the security department that I knew this was not me and that they had my identity mixed up with somebody else. I did not get one single apology from not one single Nationwide Children's Hospital staff member or security department for all the hell that they put me and my family through that day, and I was innocent and falsely accused of being someone based on an inaccurate background check system. I personally feel that the first administration lady that came into the room back at the emergency room saw that in the computer and it said that I was a sex offender of some kind, and she either told other staffers on the floor or they put out an internal memo in the company system saying there was a sex offender in the building and where their whereabouts was and to watch this room constantly. And all Children's Hospital staff members then began to judge me before I had any idea what was going on. I noticed the staff members watching me constantly, and they were all really nasty with me and treated me horrible the entire visit, all the way up until the end. For what reason? I am not sure, but I'm innocent from who they tried to paint me out to be. Having a system to notify all employees that a sex offender is in the hospital would be a great tool and could be a very useful tool if they had something like that, and I think they may. However, as a large company, they need to make sure that they are getting the correct information and not false positives. And if they can't figure it out, they need a department on site that can figure it out. This causes a big problem as their flawed computer systems give false positives on people's backgrounds when they enter the hospital. Also, Nationwide Children's Hospital should be held accountable for its misconduct and discrimination in dealing with this situation. After being inconvenienced from Children's Hospital for a little over 2 hours, while they tried everything in their power to convince me that I'm a supposed sex offender, they finally issued me a badge, and I assumed I would have access to go back up to see my wife and daughter once I got back from getting our personal belongings. So I left to run back home to get the clothing items that they would need for an overnight stay. And when I returned back to the hospital that evening, I had brought a couple of my teenage older children with me. My older kids had not seen their mother or sister since the day before, and they were concerned and asked me if I could take them up there for a little bit in the evening so they could visit with their mother and sister. When we returned back to Nationwide Children's Hospital in the evening, we went to the front desk in the main lobby. One of the security guards involved in accusing me of being a sex offender earlier in the afternoon was still working at the counter. I told the security guard that I had to go up to visit my wife and daughter and bring them what they needed for a nightly stay. I informed him that these are my biological children and they would like to see their mother and sister also, and I gave them permission to come upstairs with me. Then the male security guard at the counter starts with his nonsense saying I'm not allowed to have children because Nationwide Children's Hospital has me classified in their system and to their staff and employees as a registered sex offender. He then was messing around on the computer for a minute, and then he responded to me saying that the children are not allowed to see their mother or sister. The male security guard staff member for Children's Hospital went on to say it was against the hospital policy for me to bring my children to the hospital. Their staff members at Children's Hospital 100% did this because these employees think that this is some kind of game, and Nationwide Children's Hospital illegally profiled me in their systems as a sex offender, and these employees think that this is some kind of a joke or some kind of a game. And while he granted me access, and only me, I myself was able to carry the things upstairs. My kids were ordered by the hospital security department at Children's Hospital that they had to stay in the front lobby under security supervision. I was wondering what the heck is going on at this hospital, and if this is legal or is this just some unlawful game that Nationwide Children's Hospital plays when they are slow or they're bored in the evening. This hospital, Nationwide Children's Hospital in Columbus, is unreal, and it is definitely a joke. Different people that were waiting in line before and after me had no problem getting visitor badges for themselves or for their children. Me and my kids have witnessed this firsthand. I told my teenage daughter there was nothing that I could do about it, and that these employees at Nationwide Children's Hospital in Columbus are disrespectful and they discriminate against their guest, and they clearly don't care about their guest, and they have no problem treating me badly all day. And I did nothing wrong. The hospital is 100% at fault for their wrongdoings. Then my daughter started asking questions and wanting to know what was really going on here. I told her I would let her know once I took her mom's clothing items upstairs. So I told my 15-year-old daughter to watch her 12-year-old brother in the lobby, and if they do anything, to call me and record the situation and let me know what's going on. By the time I was getting off the elevator on the 7th floor, my 12-year-old son was already calling me, telling me that the security guards were giving them problems, and my daughter heard them saying that their father was a sex offender after a female security guard already determined that Nationwide Children's Hospital had messed up. The Children's Hospital staff members were also making rude statements in front of my teenage kids and announced it over the radio that some sex offender left his kids unattended in the main lobby at the hospital. So this brought all the guards that were working around the main lobby. They all had to come up there to see what was going on. Obviously, I followed Nationwide Children's Hospital staff's orders, and they told me that I was mandated to leave my teenage kids in the lobby because it was against Nationwide Children's Hospital's policy to allow my two teenage kids up to visit their family, their mother, and their daughter in the ICU at 6 p.m. in the evening. According to the statements that staff members of the Nationwide Children's Hospital had made about me inside of their hospital at the front desk and front lobby with my children there, the hospital staff set me up for a conversation with my kids that I never in my life ever dreamed that I would be talking about. My daughter and my son kept asking me on the car ride home after we left the hospital if it was legal for a hospital to treat patients and their families that are in need of medical care this way. Upon my returning to the main lobby, I immediately observed a group of security guards gathered downstairs. Their attention seamlessly was fixated on my children. Motivated by my curiosity and the unsettling comments my son had relayed to me, which the hospital employees had made in front of my children, I approached the security personnel seeking clarification. Regrettably, my attempts at engaging with the security was met with an unpleasant confrontation. The security guards' responses were marked by rudeness, as they disclosed that, as per the Nationwide Children's Hospital computer system, I had been categorized as a sex offender and was under a ban from the hospital's premises. 2 security guards from the Nationwide Children's Hospital in Columbus accompanied me and my children out to our car. Those security guards maintained their presence all the way until we entered the vehicle, ensuring that we left the hospital property. They stood there and watched us. They followed us. They made sure that we left the property for good. This entire episode has left me with an overwhelming sense of discomfort and apprehension, largely due to the unsettling manner in which the entire situation was managed by Nationwide Children's Hospital. Nationwide Children's Hospital in Columbus, Ohio, has classified me as a criminal, and not just a regular criminal, a sex offender. And that is disgusting and nasty, and I am innocent. This is not the person that I am, and I have done nothing wrong in my entire life. I have never committed any type of crime in my 40 years of life, so how do I prove my innocence? These employees were poorly trained and made bad decisions based on Nationwide Children's Hospital's inaccurate and flawed background check system. I would like to know how many other people have had to go through this while they were trying to get their children medical care through this Nationwide Children's Hospital, or maybe even another, Nationwide Children's Hospital across the United States. I tried to contact different departments in the hospital to try to figure out and get a better understanding of why they had done this. The guy that they put me on the phone with that claimed to be the head of security told me that it was a mistake and that the staff mishandled the situation. He also told me that they had fixed the problem and that if we ever had to come back to Nationwide Children's Hospital in Columbus, that he assured me I would never have to worry about that sort of thing anymore. I also spoke to patient relations and explained myself and the situation to them, and they gave me no help at all. Nationwide Children's Hospital has never fixed anything in their system till this day. Still today, they haven't done anything to resolve this issue. If for any reason any of my children would have to go to Children's Hospital, I have to experience this over and over again. To this date, Nationwide Children's Hospital in Columbus, Ohio, has never apologized or attempted to come forward for any of their wrongdoings. Nationwide Children's Hospital had cameras in the building, and they filmed everything that happened. They recorded the whole situation, and they covered it up. Do you trust these people with your children? Their employees are not well trained, and their employees discriminate against guests and their families. Then the employees working in their organization cover for them. Nationwide Children's Hospital in Columbus covers it all up. It's not a trustworthy company at all. And you are supposed to trust your children in these people's hands. I wonder how they can get by doing this. In my opinion, the Nationwide Children's Hospital's employees and staff tried to convince me that I was someone that I'm not, and I'm guilty of some kind of disgusting crime that I have nothing to do with. The employees of the hospital told me that I was automatically guilty of the crime and that I would have to prove to them that I did not do this. How in the heck are you supposed to do this when you're innocent? I had no prior notice of this kind of situation. This was all news to me, and the first time I've heard this in my 40 years of life is from Children's Hospital and only Children's Hospital in Columbus, Ohio. While the Nationwide Children's Hospital staff was at the front desk trying to convince me that I was a black male and that I registered my driver's license incorrectly for race and weight, the staff should have used the additional tools provided by the hospital and identity verification companies to verify other information. The hospital should have used the tools that they had to verify further information, including the middle name, the race, the weight, and the eye color. These simple things should have been tested to define us as different people. The staff that the hospital hires is completely incompetent or simply likes to ruin people's lives. I'm a very good father of my 6 children, and my wife and I work hard to provide for them every day. When one of our children gets sick and needs medical care, and we have to go to Children's Hospital or a network of their doctors, it never occurred to me that I would be wrongfully discriminated against just because I do all the right things. One of my kids happened to get sick and was hospitalized at Nationwide Children's Hospital, and I start to feel like a complete failure when I arrive at their hospital there at Nationwide Children's Hospital. Nationwide Children's Hospital employs nurses, doctors, and staff members who watch you and talk about innocent guests where I could see and hear them. And those employees made blunt comments and categorized me as a person who committed a horrible crime. The flawed computer systems and untrained staff that are employed at Nationwide Children's Hospital have portrayed me as someone I am not, and the hospital has covered it all up. If Nationwide Children's Hospital in Columbus, Ohio really cared for the people that need their services, they would have apologized for their wrongdoing. The company has had enough time to apologize and has never admitted any wrongdoing. Instead, they have worked as hard as they can to cover this situation and who knows how many more up. I will never call Nationwide Children's Hospital a good place again. It turns out that Nationwide Children's Hospital is another greedy corporation, and their only concern is money. They could care less about anybody who walks through their doors. They're just a number to these greedy corporations, and they will get your money from your insurance company. Nationwide Children's Hospital does not care how the patients or their guests feel. I have done some research and found out that someone in the United States has the same first name, different middle name, same last name, and unfortunately the same date of birth as me. The only thing different is the middle name and our race. The other guy with the close identity is a registered sex offender and is in prison to this day. After seeing the photo, you would think that anyone could realize that they are 2 different people. Have you ever visited a children's hospital in the United States? We want to hear from you. Have you ever experienced any kind of discrimination or something like this while visiting a children's hospital?